Hey guys, it's Kaz here, and today I'm doing a big old unhaul. So, most of these books I have read, most of them I did enjoy, but it got to the point where I just have no space on my shelves. Like, I'll insert pictures here. I was just shoving things on the top, sideways, to try and get books in, and it was just, I need some of them to go. So, yeah, a lot of these I enjoyed, but I'm not going to read them again, or they're just really chunky and hardback, so I don't need to own them. Stuff like that. Also, I got rid of some graphic novels because this is my graphic novel shelves, and again, I was just shoving stuff on top and they wouldn't fit in. I mean, Heartstopper is still over here, but we allow that. But now I actually have space to put new things in. So yeah, I'm just going to jump straight in because there's a lot. There's a lot. And I won't be talking about the synopsises or anything, but I probably will just I probably will hold on to these for like a few days at least. So if there's any here that you want and you're in the UK and you don't mind paying P&P, let me know. Pretty much all of them are in really good condition. So yeah, let's get into it. The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I really love Patrick Ness, but this is my least favourite book of his, so I'm probably not going to read it again. A Very Large Expanse of Sea and An Emotion of Great Delight, both by Tahara Mafi. I've read them both. I really enjoyed them. Bye bye. Lord of the Flyfest by Goldie Moldavsky. It was fine. Yes Man, Join Me, and Friends Like These by Danny Wallace. So I've read Yes Man, absolutely loved it. It was a brilliant book. These are all non-fiction, but I've owned them for so many years and I just haven't picked these two up. I haven't reached for them. So I'm like, you know what? If eventually I do want to read them, they're probably the sort of books that are going to be very easy to just find at the library or like on an ebook or whatever. I did love Yes Man, but I don't need to own it. My Mad Fat Diary and My Madder Fatter Diary by Ray Earl. Read these, enjoyed them, don't need them. All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Another book I read it last year, enjoyed it. Somebody else can read it. Here the Whole Time by Vita Martins. I've read it. It was fine. I think I quite liked it, but again, don't need to own it. Let the Right One In by John Advik Lindquist. That's definitely not right. I read this. I liked it. This is the Let Me In cover, the American remake of the film, so it doesn't even need to exist anyway. But yeah, it's another one of them books that is just like very easily, readily available. So if I wanted to reread it, I could just probably get it from the library. Bad Habits by Flynn Meaney. I've not read this one, but it's just not talking to me. I just don't care. I'm sure it might be good, but nah. It was one of those books that I got off Vine just because it was free, and then I thought, why did I get that? I'm not even interested in it. So yeah. All the Best Part of Me by Molly Ringwald. I read this. It was alright. I'm going to say that many times. Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kann. I read this last year, I think, and it was a little bit disappointing for me, to be honest. A lot of people love it, but I just thought it was very average. Poisoned Apples by Christine Hepperman. This is a random little poetry book. My sister read it, passed it to me, I read it, and now I'm passing it along again. The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. I read it. It was fine. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagara. It's probably wrong. And Jonathan Stranger, Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I haven't read either of these, but they're both so chunky, and I don't know if I care about either of them. I tried to read the first chapter of this because I thought maybe I'll be interested, and I got like halfway through it and I was like, I don't care. And then this one, it's this massive. Bye. Master of One by Jade Jones and Danny Bennett. I read it, I enjoyed it. It's a massive hardback, so like, I don't need to own it. It's just taking up so much space. 4321 by Courtney Stevens. Exactly the same. It's a hardback, it's taking up space. I give it 4.5. I did really enjoy it, but yeah, it's big. Once Upon a Rainbow Volume 3 by a bunch of people. This is a short story collection. I read it, it was fine. I'm not a massive fan of short story collections, but I think it was alright. But yeah. Eliza and the Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I read it, it's massive chunky hardback, so yeah, bye. Boy Queen by George Lester. I enjoyed the book, but I'm not going to reread it. Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro. This one was a little bit of a letdown for me. I was hoping I'd enjoy it more, but it has like this weird vibes about it. But yeah, I've read it. I'm not going to read it again. I don't know if we're halfway through. I've got several stacks there, but let's just say I am. And we'll go over and see one of the kits, and then I'll be back with the rest of the books.
It will be during this time in prison that Charles would learn the tactics.
Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. I read it. I thought it was very average. I kept it because I thought I might carry on the series, but realistically I don't care, so I'm not gonna. Hero by Perry Moore. Read it many years ago. I enjoyed it. I don't need it. The Summer of Everything by Julian Winters. I read it last year, the year before. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favourite, so. Tin Man by Sarah Winman. Read it, liked it, unhauling it. You're probably sick of me saying the same thing over and over again, but you know. Borough Hills by Julia Lynn Rubin. I read this, it was fine. The Gay Teen's Guide to Defeating a Siren by Cody Wagner. I read this quite a few years ago. It is a series, I don't know if it's a duology or a trilogy or whatever, but I don't really care about carrying it on. It was fine, I enjoyed it. Yeah. This next one's sad, and that is The Smoke Thieves, The Demon World, and The Burning Kingdoms by Sally Green. Sally Green read? She probably did read it many times. Sally Green wrote the Half Bad trilogy, which is one of my absolute favourites ever. But I read this, I reread the first two, I read the third one last year, and it's average, it's fine, it's nowhere near as good as Half Bad, so I'm unhauling the series. So next up in my stack is a bunch of graphic novels. These next few I'm gonna call I need to accept the fact that I don't like Alan Moore. Alan Moore is a very famous comic person, and I just don't get on with his work, and I need to accept that. So, Watchmen by Alan Moore, The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, and other people, because it's a comic of course. V for Vendetta, Alan Moore, and From Hell by Alan Moore, and other people. All of these are like these classic books that everyone loves and everyone gives loads of 5 stars to, and I just did not get on with any of them, so some of them were better than others. This one was definitely not better than others, but yeah, that's a lot of space to give me more room, you know, for good stuff. Then we have The Losers, book 1 by several people. I read this quite a few years ago, it was alright. I have The Uncanny X-Men Executions, book 1 and book 2. I read book 1, it was fine, but I never read book 2, but also it's like the old style art that I don't really like, you know, like the old school comic art. So I don't really lean towards that, so it was alright. I do still have one X-Men comic that I've not read yet, and it's like more modern art, so hopefully I'll enjoy that more. The thing with this sort of stuff, that it's just been going on for so long that if you just dive into a series, there's so much backstory that you don't really know yet properly, and which sort of line of stuff happening and all that jazz. Which is why I don't really get into like Marvel and DC and stuff. Ongoing comics have been going on forever. I'm an Image person. The Cute Girl Network by several people. Read it, it was fine. Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. It was alright, but it was just average for me. 30 Days of Night and 30 Days of Night, Welcome to Barrow. I've read these both a couple of times. Don't need to read them again. It's alright. I've never carried the series on either. There's more in the series, but it doesn't drag me in that much to care about the rest of the series. The Amazing Spider-Man, Unintended Consequences, and Peter Parker Spider-Man, One Small Break. I read both of these. They were fine. It's just random volumes of Spider-Man, so it's like, how much can you really get into it? Just like I said about the X-Men. And Fell Volume 1, Feral City. And this one, did I get because it was like by some people that I liked? I don't know. It was not that good, to be honest. Law by Alexandra Bracken. I read it, I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't, but I thought it was pretty decent. But again, it's a chunky book. Don't need to own it, I'm not going to reread it. What's the Tea by Juno Dawson. I read it. Somebody else can read it. Only on the Weekends by Dean Atter. I read it, it's massive. It was fine. Ghost, Patina, and Sunny by Jason Reynolds. This is a middle grade series. There is one more in this series, I can't remember what it's called. The other person anyway. I did enjoy this, it's a middle grade series. I do want to read the last one, but I'll probably just like get it off my library ebook or something, or from the library. because I don't feel like I need to own this series, but I do want to finish it. It's a middle grade, hopefully somebody else can get this and enjoy it. Nate Plus One by Kevin Van Wy. I read it, I liked it. Stags by M.A. Bennett. I haven't read this, but spoilers for my haul for this month. I found the whole series brand new for £1 in the works, so I just grabbed the box set. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it, but like £1 for 4 books. I thought, alright. So I'm getting rid of this one because I have another version of it. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I read it, I liked it. Why is my face so bright? I don't know. Less by Andrew Sean Greer. This is one of the very few books on here that I haven't read, but a mixture of owning it for a while and not really being interested in picking it up, and also wanting to actually unhaul a few books that I haven't read, so it's not just all books I've read, is the reason that this is on this list. If I want to read it, I'm sure I can get it on ebook. Again, like I say, from the library ebooks, I don't know. But I don't really have any interest in picking it up. I Know You Did It by Sue Wallman. I read it, it's like a YA thriller, I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to reread it. Then I have Vampire Academy and Vampire Academy Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. I do own like 3 of the other books in this series, 2 of the other books, so I do want to finish this series, but I just don't need to own it. It's the same with the Lorien Legacy by Pittacus Law. I read them and then unhaul them because I don't need to own the whole series, but I do want to finish the books. So I've read the first 2. I'll read the next one and then unhaul it as well. Oh, and yeah, I enjoyed this series. I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed this because I thought it'd be trash, but then it was actually decent. And when I say trash, I didn't mean like that trash that you could eat up, but it was actually like twists and plot and cool stuff happened. And then I have Seal of the Worm, Empire in Black and Gold, The Air War, and Heirs of the Blade by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I mean, realistically, this is 4 books out of a 10-book series because I borrowed all the other ones off my sister. It takes up this much space, and it's like book 1, book 7, book 10, it's like really just random books of it, so I don't need to own this much, taking up this much space. And it's not even a full series, and it's chunky. So yeah, even though I love this cover. Look how cool and pretty it looks. Oh. Well yeah, I don't need to own it just because I think it looks cool. Yeah, it's book 1, book 7, book 8 and book 10, randomly. And then last but not least, I have a bunch of stuff. Well, one of them is kind of, but also by the same author. So basically, The Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. When you look at them like this, they're really small, like they're trade paperbacks, they're little, but also they're massive and they take up so much space. Like this is how much space on my shelf it takes up. It's like half a full shelf full just for this series. This came out in 2011, it's 2023, it's still not come out with the next book. And if he ever does come out with the next book, I'm definitely not rereading all of these. I'll just look at the wiki or something. So yeah, I don't need to own such a massive space taker-upper of a series that's not even complete. And realistically might not ever be complete. And then the last one I was talking about, which is kind of the same author but not, I have Rogues. It's edited by George R.R. Martin and Gardner Dozos. And it's a bunch of short stories by loads of different people. It's chunky. I'm also not really a massive fan of short story collections because realistically half of them are like 3 stars and then you'll maybe get a couple that are 4 stars, one that's 2 stars, you know what I mean? It's like mostly very average and it's just a lot of effort to read something that's probably not going to be great. So yeah, I'm unhauling this. And there we go, those were all the books that I'm unhauling, and you can't tell because I've not really sorted them out properly yet, but like there's actually space. Look at this, my hand is in here and there's like space there, imagine that. And up here, look, oh wow, crazy. So yeah, like I said at the beginning, if you're interested in any of these and you will pay postage and packaging and you're in the UK obviously, then feel free to let me know. If not, I'm going to just take them all to charity shops. And yeah, let me know down below if you've read any of these, if you've unhauled anything recently. It's very much like a beginning of the year thing, new start, cleanse, all that jazz. So yeah, say anything down there, it's all good, that's what it's there for. And I shall see you in a few days with another video. Bye.